The air in the grand orbital sanctum smelled of ozone and expensive perfume, a combination Ronin had never quite gotten used to, even after 3 years as the first human attaché to the Sylverian Court. He stood in the shadows of the obsidian pillars, his matte black combat armor a stark contrast to the flowing, pearlescent robes of the galactic dignitaries. He kept his helmet under his arm, his fingers resting lightly on the pulse rifle magnet locked to his thigh. To the galaxy, he was just a Terran bodyguard, a relic from a species that had barely mastered FTL travel. But to Queen Elara of the Sylverian Empire, he was the only thing standing between her and a political coup. Ronin watched her now. Elara sat on the floating dais, her violet skin glowing softly under the sanctum's crystalline lights. She wore the ceremonial silver weave of her ancestors, a fabric that looked like liquid mercury. Her eyes, the color of a stormy twilight, were fixed on the creature hovering across the table, Lord Vrakos of the Draconis hegemony, a reptilian warlord whose species believed diplomacy was just war by other means. "The terms are acceptable, Your Majesty," Vrakos hissed, his voice sounding like grinding stones. A holographic treaty floated between them, shimmering with complex legal algorithms. The hegemony will withdraw its fleets from the border sectors. Trade routes will reopen. Peace, as you so desperately desire, will be restored. Elara didn't flinch. Ronin admired that about her. He'd seen her pace her quarters at 3 a.m., worried about the famine in the outer colonies. But here, she was a statue of ice and regality. "And the reparations for the colony on Vesta Prime?" Elara asked, her voice melodic but sharp. "Included," Vrakos waved a clawed hand dismissively. "But there is one final addendum, a small token of good faith to ensure the Empire's submission to the new order." Ronin's tactical instincts flared. His grip tightened on his helmet. Here it comes, he thought. "The catch." "Name it," Elara said. Vrakos smiled, revealing rows of serrated teeth. He raised a finger and pointed directly into the shadows, directly at Ronin. "Him." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the hum of the anti-gravity generators seemed to stop. Elara's brow furrowed slightly. "I do not understand." "You wish to hire Sergeant Ronin?" "I wish to execute him," Vrakos corrected. His yellow eyes gleamed with malice. 3 cycles ago, during the skirmish at the Nebula Gate, a single Terran commando boarded my flagship, disabled the hyperdrive, and humiliated my personal guard before escaping. That human was him. Ronin shifted his weight. He remembered that day. He hadn't called it humiliated. He called it taking out the trash. Vrakos continued. The hegemony cannot sign a treaty with a government that harbors war criminals. Hand over the human, we will flay him publicly on the Draconis homeworld. Then we sign the peace. Ronin stepped forward, the sound of his combat boots echoing loudly on the marble floor. He stopped at the edge of the dais. He didn't look at Vrakos, he looked at Elara. Your Majesty, Ronin said, his voice rough and low, if my life buys peace for billions of your people, it's a trade I'm willing to make. Just give the order. He meant it. That was the job. Humans were expendable. Queens were not. Elara turned to look at him. For the first time, the mask of the Queen slipped. Her violet eyes widened, shimmering with an emotion Ronin had never seen there before. Fear no, anger pure, cold fury. She stood up. The movement was so fluid, it looked like water rising against gravity. She reached out to the holographic treaty floating before her. Lord Vrakos, she said softly, you have miscalculated. It is one life, Your Majesty, Vrakos sneered. A primitive, short-lived human. Surely his life is not worth a war. Elara's hand passed through the hologram. With a violent gesture, she slashed her hand downward. The digital document shattered into 1,000 pixels of red light. The sound of the system crashing signaled the end of the negotiations. He is not a primitive, Elara's voice rose, resonating off the sanctum walls with a power that made the glass tremble. And he is not a bargaining chip. You demand the life of my friend? Then you demand war. Vrakos roared, standing up. You dare? The fleets are already positioned. Let them come, Elara shouted. She turned to Ronin. Ronin, get us out of here, now! Ronin didn't hesitate. The soldier took over. He slammed his helmet on, the HUD flickering to life in green and amber. Ambush protocols! Ronin barked. He raised his pulse rifle and fired 3 controlled bursts at the Draconis bodyguards, flanking Vrakos. The plasma rounds melted through their kinetic shields, dropping them before they could draw their weapons. To the lift! Ronin grabbed Elara's arm. It was a breach of protocol to touch the Queen, but protocol had just been ripped up along with the treaty. They have jammed the main lifts, Elara said, hitching up her silver robes as they sprinted toward the service corridors. Vrakos planned this. He never intended to sign. Standard Draconis tactic, Ronin grunted, checking the corner. Clear. Offer peace. Decapitate the leadership. I should have checked the perimeter sensors myself. You are checking them now, she said, breathless, but keeping pace with his augmented stride. They burst into a service corridor, just as the wall behind them exploded. Vrakos' heavy troopers were breaching the sanctum. Laser fire scorched the air, singing the edge of Elara's robe. Ronin spun, activating the hard light shield on his left gauntlet. He absorbed a heavy impact that would have pulverized a tank, his boots sliding backward on the metal grating. Go, the waist shoot! Ronin yelled, firing blindly over his shield to suppress the enemy. The waist shoot! Elara looked at the dark-smelling hole in the wall with horror. Ronin, I am a queen of the 7 systems. I do not slide down garbage disposals. Today, your majesty is a moving target. Slide or die. She looked at him, seeing the desperate determination in his visor. She jumped. Ronin followed, throwing a flash grenade behind him. They tumbled through the darkness, sliding down the slick metal tubes that wound deep into the station's bowels. They landed hard in a pile of synthetic fiber and discarded alloy. Ronin was up instantly, scanning the gloom. They were in the Undercity, the forgotten levels of the orbital station where the air scrubbers barely worked and the light was dim and flickering. Elara groaned, pulling herself up. Her pristine silver robe was stained with grease, her elaborate hairpiece askew. I'm going to execute the station architect, she muttered, wiping a smudge of blue oil from her cheek. Ronin offered a hand. She took it. And for a moment, neither let go. Her skin was cool. His glove was rough. We need to keep moving, Ronin said, his voice softer now. Vrakos will seal the upper levels. He'll hunt us down with thermal drones. We need to get to the old hangar. My personal ship is docked there, off the grid. The Iron Mule? Elara raised an eyebrow. That rusted bucket of bolts? That bucket of bolts has a stealth drive and an espresso machine. 2 things we desperately need right now. Suddenly, Elara stumbled, gasping. She gripped Ronin's armor, her knees buckling. Elara! Ronin caught her. Were you hit? No. She breathed heavily, her eyes glowing with a pulsing, erratic light. She clutched her chest. The royal seal, it's reacting. Ronin looked at the pendant she wore. An ancient crystal shard said to contain the psionic imprint of the first Sylverian emperors. It was pulsing violently, burning against her skin. It senses danger to the bloodline, Elara gasped, sweat beading on her lavender forehead. It's initiating the lockdown protocol. If I don't stabilize it, it will release a psionic pulse that will knock out every living being within 10 clicks, including us. How do we stop it? Ronin asked, scanning the shadows. He could hear the skittering of Draconis drones in the distance. They were coming. It requires a harmonic anchor, Elara whispered, looking up at him with wide, fearful eyes. A second consciousness to share the load, to ground the energy. Okay, Ronin nodded. I'll find you a psychic. Is there a Sylverian priest down here in the garbage dump? No, she gripped his chest plate. It has to be someone I trust implicitly. Someone whose soul frequency resonates with mine. She looked at him. The silence stretched between them. Heavier than the combat armor he wore. Me? Ronin gave a dry chuckle. Your Majesty, I'm a grunt from Earth. My soul frequency is mostly caffeine and repressed trauma. I'm not compatible with high-tech alien magic. You are the only person who has never lied to me, Elara said, her voice trembling. The only one who stood in front of Vrakos and offered to die. Please, Ronin, I can feel the pulse building. It will kill us. Ronin looked at the drones appearing at the end of the corridor. Red lasers swept the darkness. All right, Ronin deactivated his helmet, revealing his scarred face and dark eyes. What do I do? Take off your glove, Elara commanded, her voice gaining a desperate strength. Ronin stripped off his gauntlet. His hand was rough, covered in calluses and old scars. Elara placed her delicate violet hand against his palm, her fingers interlaced with his. Look at me, she whispered. Do not look away. And whatever you see, do not judge me. I could never judge you, Ronin said honestly. Elara closed her eyes and began to chant in the old tongue. The crystal pendant flared blindingly white. Suddenly, the world dissolved. Ronin wasn't in the damp corridor anymore. He was floating in a sea of violet starlight. He wasn't looking at Elara. He was in Elara. He felt the crushing weight of the crown, the thousands of voices demanding her attention, the loneliness of the throne. the fear that she was the last of her line. He felt the cold political marriages she had narrowly avoided, the emptiness of a palace filled with sycophants. And then he felt a warm, burning light in the center of her mind. It was an image of him. He saw himself through her eyes, but he wasn't the scarred, tired soldier he saw in the mirror. He was a pillar of strength. He was the one constant in her chaotic universe. He felt her admiration for his stubbornness, her fascination with his rough human humor, and desire. A deep, terrifying desire that she had buried under layers of protocol. She loves me. The realization hit Ronin like a plasma bolt. The Queen of the Seven Systems loves the hired help. Then the flow reversed. Elara gasped as she was pulled into Ronin's mind. She saw the brutal wars of Earth, the friends he'd lost, the cynicism that had built a wall around his heart. She felt his bone-deep exhaustion, but beneath that, she saw her. She saw how he tracked her movement in every room to ensure she was safe. She saw the way he memorized her favorite tea orders. She saw that he hadn't stayed for the paycheck for the last 2 years. He had stayed because a world without her in it didn't make sense to him. He stays for me, she thought, her spirit weeping with relief. Not for the Empire, for me! The energies swirled, violet and gold mixing, twisting, fusing. The crystal pendant stopped pulsing and began to hum a perfect, harmonious note. Snap! They were back in the corridor. The physical world rushed in with the smell of ozone and rot. They were still holding hands. Ronin felt different. He could hear a second heartbeat thumping in his ears, but it wasn't his. He could feel the bruise on Elara's knee as if it were on his own leg. Elara stared at him, her chest heaving. Her eyes were no longer just violet. They had flecks of dark brown, Ronin's eye color, swirling in the irises. You, Elara breathed, touching his face. You knew I hated the diplomatic dinners. You knew I only ate the appetizers because I was nervous. And you, Ronin smiled, a genuine boyish smile that took years off his face. You think my jokes are terrible, but you laugh internally because you like watching me try. Your jokes are terrible, Ronin. We're connected. Ronin flexed his hand. He could feel her fear receding, replaced by a fierce, burning confidence. I can feel your adrenaline. And I can feel your tactical assessment? Elara tilted her head. 3 drones approaching. Flanking formation. Weak armor on the rear chassis. Ronin laughed. Welcome to the Marine Corps, Your Majesty. Can you fight? Elara stood up. The grease on her face didn't look like dirt anymore. It looked like war paint. She raised her hand, and the air around her crackled with psionic energy. But now, that energy was stabilized, focused by Ronin's grounding presence. I am the Queen, she said, her voice echoing in his mind and his ears simultaneously. And thanks to you, I am done running. The Draconis drones rounded the corner, hovering mechanical nightmares equipped with buzzsaws and lasers. Right side, Ronin shouted, but he didn't need to. Elara was already moving. Because of the bond, their reaction times were instant. They moved as one organism. Ronin slid across the floor, firing upward into the underbelly of the lead drone. At the exact same moment, Elara thrust her hand forward. A blast of telekinetic force, guided by Ronin's knowledge of the drone's center of gravity, slammed the machine into the wall, crumpling it like a tin can. 2 more, Elara yelled. Switch, Ronin called out. He tossed his pulse rifle to her. She caught it midair, a weapon she had never fired in her life. And thanks to the muscle memory bleeding over from Ronin's mind, she shouldered it perfectly. She squeezed the trigger, a double tap, dead center into the optical sensor of the second drone. Nice shot, sweetheart, Ronin grinned, pulling his combat knife. Don't get cocky, soldier, she shot back, feeling his amusement ripple through her. The third drone rushed Ronin. He ducked, slashing at its hydraulics. But a mechanical claw caught him in the shoulder. Pain exploded in Ronin's arm, but simultaneously, he felt Elara's rage spike. No! Her mental voice screamed. Elara didn't use a weapon. She screamed, and a wave of pure violet energy erupted from her body. It wasn't just psionic force. It was laced with human grit. A raw, stubborn refusal to yield that she had pulled from Ronin's soul. The wave hit the drone and disintegrated it, literally turned it to dust. Ronin fell to his knees, clutching his bleeding shoulder. Elara was there in an instant, her hands glowing with healing light. I can feel the damage, she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. The muscle is torn. The bone is bruised. It's fine, Ronin gritted his teeth, enjoying the sensation of her pain relief washing over him through the bond. We've had worse, Remember the crash on Moon Zeta? I remember, she smiled sadly. I remember everything now. Every time you stood between me and danger. We need to move, Ronin groaned, standing up with her help. That pulse of yours, it just rang the dinner bell for every Draconis soldier on the station. They limped toward the old hangar, but as the blast doors opened, they realized they were too late. Lord Vrakos stood there, flanked by a dozen elite shadow stalkers, his reptilian face twisted into a sneer. How touching, Vrakos hissed. The queen and her pet, playing in the dirt. Elara stepped forward, placing herself in front of Ronin. Stand down, Vrakos. You have no idea what we have become. I see a tired woman and a wounded animal, Vrakos laughed. Kill the human. Keep the queen alive for the treaty signing. The shadow stalkers activated their cloaking fields, vanishing into thin air. Ronin closed his eyes. I can't see them on thermal. I can, Elara whispered in his mind. They are ripples in the psionic field. 2 on the left, 3 on the ceiling, 1 behind you. Be my eyes, Elara, Ronin said, relaxing his body, letting her perception overlay his own. Now! Ronin spun, firing blindly into the empty air. A spark, a scream, and a cloaked assassin fell dead. Duck! Ronin dropped. A blade whistled over his head. Elara blasted the attacker with a kinetic shove, sending him flying into the engine turbine of a parked shuttle. They fought back to back, a whirlwind of plasma and magic. Ronin was the steel, Elara was the storm. Every time an assassin tried to flank, Elara sensed them. Every time Elara's shield wavered, Ronin was there to cover her with suppression fire. It was a dance of death, perfect and terrifying. Finally, only Vrakos remained. The warlord looked at his fallen elites, then at the couple standing amidst the carnage. He roared, activating a massive energy hammer, and charged. Together, Ronin said. Together, Elara agreed. Ronin sprinted forward, sliding between Vrakos' legs. As Vrakos swung the hammer down to crush him, Elara caught the weapon with her mind. She strained, blood trickling from her nose, holding the massive weight in midair. Ronin, do it! Ronin popped up behind the warlord, placed his pulse rifle against the weak point in Vrakos' armor, the neck junction, and pulled the trigger. Vrakos fell. The hangar went silent. Ronin slumped against a crate, breathing hard. The adrenaline was fading, leaving only the throbbing in his shoulder and the intense, warm presence of Elara in his mind. She walked over to him. She didn't look like a queen anymore. Her robes were shredded, her hair was wild, and she was covered in dust. She had never looked more beautiful. Is it over? She asked, her voice small. The bad guy is dead, Ronin said, holstering his weapon. But the council will come. The politics, the fallout. He looked away, the old insecurity creeping back in. They won't accept this, Elara. A queen and a bodyguard. Bonded, it's political suicide. You should say I forced you. Say it was a combat necessity. I'll leave. I'll disappear. Elara grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. The bond flared with indignation. You are an idiot, Ronin. I've been told. Do you think I care about the council? She laughed, a free, joyous sound. I just vaporized a Draconis death squad with my mind because I was angry they hurt you. The council can file a complaint if they dare. She leaned in, her forehead resting against his. You saved me, Ronin, not just my life. You saved me, the woman inside the crown, and I am not letting you go. I'm just a human, Elara, he whispered. I'll get old. I'll die long before you. Then we will make every day count, she vowed. Besides, she smiled, a mischievous glint in her eyes that Ronin felt echo in his own chest. With this bond, I think you'll find your lifespan significantly upgraded. Ronin smiled. He leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't a tentative diplomatic kiss. It was a seal on a new treaty, one written in sweat, blood, and starlight. Through the bond, he felt the universe expand. He wasn't alone anymore. He would never be alone again. 6 months later, the Grand Sanctum had been rebuilt. The council chamber was full, but this time, the atmosphere wasn't heavy with fear. It was buzzing with curiosity. Ronin stood on the dais, not in the shadows, but right next to the throne. He wore a new uniform, a blend of Terran military cut and Sylverian royal silver. Queen Elara sat on her throne. She looked out at the assembled ambassadors, Terran, Sylverian, and the new humble delegation from Draconis. The Empire is entering a new era, Elara announced, her voice strong. An era of cooperation, of integration. We have learned that strength does not come from purity of blood, but from the unity of spirit. She glanced at Ronin. He winked. Some of you have questioned my choice of Consort, Elara continued, her eyes narrowing slightly at a murmuring duke in the back row. You question the wisdom of binding the royal line to a human. She stood up, and Ronin stood with her. The bond between them flared, visible to everyone in the room as a soft golden aura wrapping around them both. Let me be clear, Elara said. Ronin did not just win my heart. He won the war. And if anyone wishes to challenge his position... Ronin rested his hand on the hilt of his ceremonial sword, his eyes scanning the room with the predator's gaze of a veteran Marine. You are welcome to try, Elara finished with a shark-like grin. The room remained dead silent. Good, Elara sat back down. Now, onto the trade agreements regarding coffee imports. The Prince Consort insists we are running low. As the clerk scrambled to bring up the files, Ronin projected a thought to her. Prince Consort? Really? I thought we agreed on galactic troubleshooter. Hush, husband, Elara's thought giggled in his mind. Or I'll tell the ambassadors about the teddy bear you keep in your locker. That is a tactical stress relief device. I love you, Ronin. I love you too, Elara.
Outside the station, the stars burned bright, infinite and full of promise. The human and the queen watched them together, two souls sharing one heartbeat, ready for whatever the galaxy threw at them next. Because they knew the secret now. The universe didn't belong to the strong or the ancient or the cruel. It belonged to the stubborn.